Wait, just quit it.
Too late. So, welcome to Ask an Otaku. The great thing is that's the actual start of the show, so folks are going to come in and see me just saying too late. Anyway, so this is the show where you, as regular otaku, get to chat with us about otaku topics. And I am here with the great Mini Man in his kitchen. How you doing, Mini Man?
I'm cooking a ramen today, and it's awesome. Yeah,
it looks lovely.
Yeah. And yeah, quick news for all of you ONV veterans, and also an advertisement for the spring anime thing. Phantom is no longer my favourite anime ever. Find out in the spring anime guide.
There we go. That's very interesting. I'm curious. Cool. So our topic today is anime that doesn't look like anime, although as usual I'm sure we will be covering many other topics as well. And so we've been talking about anime that not just doesn't look like anime, but doesn't feel like typical anime. And the question, of course, what is typical anime? You've got stuff like, K-On! And Gundam and other things like that. That kind of defined what anime looks like. So the question is, what is unusual? And some of the examples thus far have been Boogie Pop Phantom, certainly true. I mentioned Kaiba, Perfect Blue, older shows. Let me see if I can scroll up here and see what other folks have mentioned. Gankutsuo, the Count of Monte Cristo, certainly one of those. Let's see here. Yona and the Solitary Fortress, which is kind of this sort of cheesecloth-covered CGI thing, which looks cool. Halo Legends, kind of.
No, are we counting America Maze?
You can kind of go either way with Halo Legends.
Afro Samurai is banned, by the way.
Yeah.
Sky Blue is also banned. Both are amazing.
Yes. Lane. Oh yeah, Lane definitely. Yet the Shadows Move and are red. House of Five Leaves.
Phantom, because it's basically an American film.
Yeah. And actually, speaking of that, we talked about, someone mentioned Cowboy Bebop. I would say Bebop counts. Bebop does not look like a typical anime.
Yeah, Bebop, well, it's a genre of its own.
Exactly.
I mean, there is basically a genre called Bebop. And it just is that anime and all of the failed attempts that tried to follow it. So, The Matrix in that anime.
Which failed to follow. Anyway.
So The Matrix, The Matrix Reloaded, because that was the one that stole from it.
Yeah, true. But Beck's a good choice. I think Beck is definitely not your typical anime. I think Ghost in the Shell, well, which one? The original movie, TV series, I don't know.
Innocence counts in the list.
Yeah.
Original doesn't.
I would tend to agree there. I mean, it looks...
Innocence mainly for the scene that repeats itself 3 times. That scared the crap out of me.
I also kind of hate Innocence, but that's a whole other question. I would say the original movie is kind of borderline. It looks kind of like typical anime, especially like the more Patlabor stuff, more typical Oshii stuff. But it's also
bringing anime forward than it was anything.
It certainly was, and it is much more realistic than your typical anime series in terms of character animation. Characters aren't leaping, 50 stories or anything like that unless they're cybernetically enhanced. I would certainly say those count. Standalone Complex, I think, looks more like typical anime. It's very high quality, and it's definitely different, but it's still pretty like that.
I'd say, I know there's only one episode out at the moment, but Showa Monogatari may count this list. It is excruciatingly realistic.
Okay, yeah.
And that, if we're going for the so realistic it counts, Showa Monogatari and Tokyo Magnitude 8.0.
I was just thinking that, yeah, I would probably count that. And Tokyo Magnitude is kind of interesting because visually it's not unlike a typical anime, but everything else is kind of different, which is unusual. Interstellar 5555. Interesting choice. It looks very retro. It looks kind of like 70s animation. I would say actually it doesn't count because it looks like Star Blazers. It looks like 70s anime. It just doesn't look like modern anime. I would have to say. Some parts of Animatrix, definitely. The runner is different.
Matrix, I think the best one would be either Kid's Story or Matriculated.
Let's see here. Horomuska.
Times. Shut up.
Horomuska certainly would count. The whole interesting sort of, just the whole visual style is different, and of course also the plot line. Catch It 1 counts. No question.
Awesome. Pretty small episodes.
Shin-chan, definitely is not your typical anime. I think Shin-chan though is also more like your typical sort of kindergarten anime. There's a lot of that out there that we just don't see. I think there's a fair amount of that.
Here's an interesting question. Dokuro-chan?
Nah, I think that's pretty anime-like.
It's pretty anime-like, but let's face it, it was... Like, anime can go bizarre. That was another level.
Yeah, fair enough. Avatar: Last Airbender isn't really Japanese.
I've not mentioned Panty and Stocking yet.
Good point. I think someone mentioned it like an hour ago. But yeah, Panty and Stocking certainly counts. It looks like American animation. Cat Soup. Mononoke. I'm not sure about Mononoke. I think Mononoke looks pretty anime-like.
Okay, it's difficult.
That's interesting. Let's see here. Bungaku Shoujo, from what I've seen of it, looks anime. It totally looks anime. Book Girl, the girl who eats books.
Bungaku Shoujo, borderline, story-wise.
Yeah, storyline is certainly different, but I think visually.
Well, story-wise, it's what I'd call schizophrenic. I personally don't think it works cohesively well, but that's a review. But honestly, I'd say it doesn't do anything like out of the ordinary. I mean, it hasn't got anything new. I mean, even all of the voice actors are proper vets.
Yeah. Now, Shaman King brings up an interesting question. High School of the Dead. Yeah.
I'd vote High School of the Dead.
I would vote High School of the Dead too. It is visually different. Now, like the character designs are very typical anime, but the way they're presented is very different. And the storyline, and everything else, I think, it's definitely not your typical anime. It still sort of fits into the anime genre very nicely, but it's definitely not what folks typically think of when they think anime.
We'll just say Queen's Blade just so we can pretend that lump of crap is not anime.
Yeah, there's a lot that I'd like to sort of dump into there.
Freezing's allowed to stay. Freezing's allowed to stay.
Yeah.
So.
Elfen Lied?
I don't know. Again, I watched it when I was 13. Traumatized.
I mean, honestly, after with things like Akira and Legend of the Overfiend, I think even as extreme as it is, and even in terms of the plotline and so forth, I think it's pretty well anime.
Let's see. I'm trying to think through any of the new ones that have come out.
Yeah.
Dead Man's Wonderland.
Nah, that's pretty anime.
Yeah, but it's awesome.
Nah. I have feelings on that one.
Ooh.
Well, and some folks are asking, are we talking about story? I don't know. I'm that's certainly another question. Anime that has an unusual kind of anime style plot. Although, there's a lot of anime with weird plots. I don't know that I don't know that taking Higurashi or School Days being examples, taking an existing genre and applying a different kind of plot to it doesn't necessarily make it not anime-like. I think that's just something that that's a neat storytelling twist, but it's still definitely anime-like. Pokemon, no. Mind Game and Kimonozume, heck yeah. Very, very weird visually and plot-wise as well. Lane, as you mentioned, a good choice. Tekken Concrete, yeah! There's a forgotten one. Very interesting, dynamic visual style that's almost a little hard to follow sometimes. Much like Mind Game and so forth. It's an interesting one. Kaiba, definitely. Love Kaiba. Now, Fooly Cooly.
I haven't seen it. I'm one of the few.
Okay. I say no. I say Fooly Cooly is pretty typical anime. It's extreme anime, but it's just, anime sort of pushed to the limit, if you would say. I think it's pretty solidly anime. I'll put it this way. I think if you put a 40-year-old mother down in front of a thing and showed her Fooly Cooly, she'd think it's anime. She wouldn't think, what is this? She would think, what is this? But she wouldn't, it would look like anime to her. Compared to something like Kaiba or Mind Game or, visually Higurashi or something like that. It's just weird and goes all over the place. But the plot question is an interesting question. Because there are some anime that definitely, do plots in ways that are different. Actually, Kaiba is a good example where it has a pretty traditional kind of plot in the sense that you have this weird world and this character's kind of trying to get back and recover his memories and so forth. So from that perspective, it's, it's normal. But, the artistic style is completely different. Durarara.
Bakemonogatari?
Yeah, Bakemonogatari, definitely. Mainly because the characters, are barely drawn in a recognizable anime style at any given point. The show is so stylized. Durarara, I would say is at the very least borderline. Again, if you look at that, if you look at a screenshot, you think, okay, anime. But I think animated and in terms of plot, it is different.
I only watched the first episode and I got confused the hell out. So many text messages just suddenly appearing from people. I don't know.
Yeah. Actually, on that score, Bacano is pretty definitely anime. It's awesome, but it's anime. But there are, yeah. Yeah, I'm still open for Skype calls here, folks. If you want to offer. Bacano. See, I didn't find Bacano confusing. Once you get all the way through the storyline, it's not confusing. It's meant to throw completely weird things at you. Beautiful Joe, yeah. Beautiful Joe is definitely doesn't look like anime.
I've only played the games. What they should just think about? They should make an Okami anime. Why didn't they? I love Okami. Or Onimusha, Dawn of Dreams, the best of the Onimushas. Robert, your gaming guy on Otaku no Video. With a sweet radio voice.
Kuragahime, yeah, that's a different one. Although I'm not sure, but from what I've heard. Perfect Blue, yeah. Absolutely Perfect Blue. Perfect Blue is odd.
Because it was one of the few animes that was only an anime because of budgetary requirements.
True.
It's always meant to be a live action.
Exactly. For those who don't know, Perfect Blue was meant to be a live action film. They got together. They couldn't get the money for it, so they decided, well, we'll just draw it, which also tells you how expensive anime is to make. Yeah, Mike, let's bring you on here. Mike wants to join us and talk, so I'm bringing him in. Yeah. Oh yes, the Zelda anime. Yeah, I'm adding in Mike.
Hello.
Hey, hello, Mike. So, what are your thoughts on this?
So, as I've told you before, I recently watched Densha Otaku. And so that got me wondering about the stereotypes of otaku. And then even there's the jokes about otaku being looked down here in the U.S. And I'm such an extrovert that I've never had problems with that. But I was wondering, to the chat and to you guys and to whoever else, have you ever actually had problems with that, like being a social outcast or looked down upon, or like you touch a girl's brush and she throws it in the trash?
Yeah, that was bizarre.
Me, I cannot think of a single specific incident where I've been looked down on for being an otaku. On the other hand, you know, like I don't walk around wearing, you know, Naruto headbands. You know, so there's really not many ways in which you could look at that guy and say, oh, he must be an otaku. The only difference is, and I will say this kind of surprised me. I have a bag. I'll show you my bag. I have a shoulder bag. My favorite shoulder bag in the whole wide world. This gray Lane shoulder bag from Myth, which I got about a decade ago or so, probably a little bit more than that. And this used to be what I took my into work every day. That was my work bag. And I never got a comment about it. No one ever really noticed that. And I'm sure people, you know, saw it, but it just, you know, passed everyone by. So I did that for probably 2 years. So that's one of those things where I expected to at least get a comment here and there, but nothing. Other than that, I don't know.
I mean, I don't know. When I recently started a club, and I've got a bit of flack from it from some people. My maths teacher, surprisingly, actually, because I opened the club up to year 7s, and she was like, and she was one of those pure stereotype believers, and she's a nice person, and I wasn't expecting her to comment. It was like, aren't you sure it's still a little bit adult for them? And thought I was some sort of porn-obsessed maniac. That was strange. Once saw, have I told you the story of Thundercats Man?
I don't think so.
Once went into nice HMV, got myself some anime, I think it was.
Oh, this.
Yeah, got myself some anime, and some guy laughs at me, and then basically I say, what's up, he goes, you're watching all that anime bullcrap, that's for kids, and then in his hand is the full season box set for Thundercats.
Nice. So that's interesting. So I'm looking at the chat room, actually, and I'm not seeing, you know, terrible stories of folks being, you know, taken out back and beaten into a bloody pulp for liking anime. You know, Shaman King says his friends think anime is childish. Fair enough. Most of the other folks, you know, aren't. In fact, the stories they're telling are of, as Sword Saint says, at my old school, we were taught how to animate at the class and make anime. Digital Bug, I'm sorry. Where is it? I'm missing stuff. Shaman King says, my geography teacher shows us anime in his after-school club.
Awesome.
That's an awesome teacher.
I had to make the club.
Yeah, that's common.
For, like, here, I mean, well, we're way Japanese influenced here in Hawaii, but,
lucky bastard.
Like, my friends who are the more otaku group that I hang out with, a lot of them are, don't want to say socially awkward, so, you know, they're not, like me, I can go around the school and hang out with the breakers, or hang out with the jocks, or the popular kids. Most of them, actually, I gathered up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I'm not really sure, like, there's the whole stereotype that otaku fans are, just, you know, weaklings and all that kind of stuff. They don't want to talk to anyone, such and such. But I mean, I don't see anyone getting made fun of anymore. But I mean,
that's an interesting point. I think we have kind of gotten to that point where, and I think also because anime is a little bit more mainstream now than it was in the past. That I think people just recognize, okay, you're into the anime. It's like being into, you know, I don't know, Korean dramas, or you know, being into pop bands, whatever. I think it's seen as something that, okay, yeah, that's kind of weird, but it's kind of as weird as any other kind of, you know, specific obsession.
I mean, in Britain, it's still considered childish, but it's not considered as much of a whole sort of adult thing.
Yeah.
So I was quite surprised when my teacher came up with the comment. But I'm trying to think, because I don't know. I mean, I've had some flack for it before. I remember my people on my bus used to give me a load of flack. So I put a load of episodes of random crap on my PSP and showed it to them, and now they watch anime.
Nice.
So I'll win that one. Then one of them I showed, what's his name? Bradley. I showed him episode of Kaisha Wa Maid Summer. And on my PSP, because I was just trying out all the new stuff. And now he doesn't like me very much because he pretty much stayed up all night watching Oh My Goddess.
I have an awesome story about that. I was showing some. So I was working with a youth group in the area, and it's all kids, say age 13 to 15, something along those lines. And the regular person wasn't there, and so I was supposed to kind of give the lesson, whatever. So I came in and I showed the first episode of Rurouni Kenshin TV. And asked some questions about the morality of actions, and was this right or was that right, and so forth. And it was just a nice, bright, obvious way of posing some moral questions. And one of the that's right. The next week, literally like 6 days afterwards, we went out to watch a movie, and one of the girls came up to me and said, "By the way, I really like that show that you showed us, Rurouni Kenshin. So I went out and I watched it. And it's really good." I said, "Oh, how much have you watched?" "All of it."
Yeah.
And we're talking like a 13-year-old girl. She went out and she found all 152 episodes, whatever it is, of Rurouni Kenshin TV and just slammed through it. I was like, "You're awesome. I want to adopt you now." But it is, and I think it's very important for us to understand that a lot of this is a matter of educating folks about what anime is, not just by saying it's cool, but by saying, here's what it actually is. Sit down with an episode and see if you like it.
It's so much harder to do it through the British Censor Board thanks to the new British Violent Cartoons Act. That has really made it so much harder to like a lot of the anime I liked. Elfen Lied's now banned over here. I was so on buying that DVD as well. But I mean, when I started the Anime Executive, so much flack from that, but I know that was probably as much as I'm a YouTuber as it was I'm a otaku. The fact it was an anime reviewing thing, and but I'm here now, so shame on them.
It's another thing that's worth pointing out to folks is that folks think it's childish, and it's kind of hard because on the one hand you kind of want to say, "Here's Grave of the Fireflies," on the other hand there's a matter of saying here's Grave of the Fireflies, but most anime is Dragon Ball Z. Most anime is just fun entertainment, and I think a lot of, for me, also being more of a fan of the dramatic stuff, I tend to push the that it's really serious, it's really amazing, it can be really amazing, without realizing a lot of folks who do get into it because they want to watch Naruto every week. Nothing against that. It's just they want the entertainment, and that's a good thing to push too.
Yeah. I mean, I can't remember why I started watching it. Something to do with Bleach, Nintendo Magazine, and Elfen Lied. Go back to previous episodes. I've told the story 1,000 times, I'm sure.
Yeah.
It's funny that you mentioned the Japanese dramas because those are actually more popular and more accepted here. But I think that also has to do with the fact that Channel 9 and 8 are Japanese channels and Channel 7 is a Korean channel.
Gotcha.
They play dramas and the Japanese news.
Yeah, that's something that we don't get in a lot of places. Like I know in this area there's a Japanese channel and there's a Korean channel. Although even in that case, like the Japanese channel basically shows NHK news like half the day. So there's very little programming other than that in the Korean channel. I forget what else it shows. It shows a fair number of dramas. But even here in a well-populated area, there's just not a lot of that content readily available.
Actually,
yes.
Watching Densha Otoko, you see how they're like all weird, creepy kind. like the otaku are really portrayed as creepy.
Yeah.
When I went to QuaiCon, otaku just are normal people when I meet them.
Well, that's
I've never actually met someone that's like that.
I have, to be fair, and also to be fair, otaku in Japan means something very different than otaku in America. From what I've seen of documentaries and actual, stuff showing otaku in Japan, most of them are not like that. But there are a large number of otaku in Japan that are creepy weirdos. And they're not necessarily scary, but they are like, yes, all I do when I get home from work is watch anime or play visual novels all the time. It is kind of scary, and I have the love pillow. What's even scarier are the folks where, I play games by Leaf. That's all I do. I play games by this one publisher, exclusively, and I have every piece of merchandise and everything you can imagine. I have every edition of every game. It's get away from me.
Dear friend, please do not know about my obsession with Platinum Games.
There are people like that in any medium, though.
True.
I only listen to the ting-tings.
Yeah, true.
I've walked into a friend's house, and his father had these jerseys lining like 5 different rooms, and signed baseball balls and the other things that I don't know what sports they are.
It's actually one of the cool things about Densha Otako is when you look at the other members on Tuchan, most of them are not otaku. They're not anime otaku. Like the main one is a big fan of the Tokyo Tigers, is it? Tokyo Lions. He's a baseball fan. There's one guy's a shoe salesman, and all these folks who are kind of obsessed in their own way about their own weird, their own thing.
The army guy.
The army guy. Awesome. And you've definitely got those folks who are obsessed with their own little, the train guy. My gosh. And that's just the way it is, and it's one of the ideas that it's not that it's bad to be totally tuned into things. It's like like I said, my concern is not with someone who's like, I want to be completist about this. It's that I'm going to be completist about this extremely specific thing, and I'm going to own everything that was ever made about it. It's like, okay, there's a certain and nothing else interests me in the world. Woo-hoo! And I have seen folks at cons who are that guy, but it is much more rare over here, I think, than it is in Japan.
Yeah. Well, do you know just because we were sort of speaking about Densha Otoko a bit, if you know about the secret link between the film and the TV series? Okay, main guy who plays
I did hear about this. Yeah, go ahead.
The main guy who plays the main guy in the film. Basically, at the end of the film, he helps out a guy on a train who's about to get harassed.
Yeah.
And that's the person from the TV series in the first episode.
Nice.
So basically, it's just a double loop.
Very nice. Very nice.
It just seems weird that otaku, like anime otaku, are all looked down upon, yet the other otaku, at least here, other obsessive people aren't, except for maybe gamers, they aren't looked down as much.
Yeah.
It's like, if someone's obsessive over baseball, they're an upstanding member of society, I think. I don't know.
Gamers aren't given that much respect, but it's given a little bit unless you're in California.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, and of course, part of the thing too there is, baseball fandom has been around a lot longer than anime fandom has. So I think we're just more used to people being obsessed with baseball than being obsessed with these strange cartoons from Japan. That helps. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, over here we do have folks who are absolutely obsessed with baseball, and no one seems to see that as worrying compared to somebody who's absolutely obsessed with, manga or whatever.
Yeah.
Interesting. So someone asked the question in the chat, or brings up the topic in the chat room. I was a gamer until I found anime. Falling Terror says that is an interesting pattern. There are a lot of gamers who kind of come into anime.
I was one of them.
Yeah.
My parents were gamers, but we're also a Ghibli family instead of a Disney family.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
I'd vote for Ghibli any day.
Much as I love Disney. But yeah, and I think part of that too, I think we mentioned this at one point, is the Japanese RPG market. You know,
yeah.
I think as a gamer you get familiar with the whole Japanese RPG and just the whole visual style, which can then pull you into anime a little bit more easily.
Yeah. I mean, again, the story, Nintendo Magazine, I'm an otaku, hooray!
Yeah, absolutely. There's something about that. I don't know. So, Sword Saint 32 has a little story here in the chat room. On the matter that people think anime is for kids, I had a friend who has a very strict mother, and she thought that anime was for kids, so he got to watch my copies of Death Note and Hellsing Ultimate.
Oh,
it has its advantages.
That's awesome.
That is interesting. Anime is for kids? Okay, then here your kids get all this stuff.
Have the blue girl.
Here, watch Bible Black.
Exactly.
Shion, apparently Miniman 12544 and some show for kids recommends it. We could mess that person up.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of weird how people say anime is for kids, but when a lot of children shows and anime just have so many good things, like good things to teach you and all that kind of stuff. Like they dismiss it as this kiddie thing that it's useless, when a lot of the times it can be more meaningful than some of the stuff that like Bones, I guess. I don't know. That's one of the stuff my mom watches.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's one of the things is that kids shows can be very interesting, especially these days. I mean, and part of the problem too is I think a lot of folks thought back to the kids shows of their youth, and no, this is not Land of the Lost. No, this is not H.R. Puffin stuff. My gosh. I'm sorry, kids shows from the 50s, 60s, and 70s tended to suck. So I think a lot of folks these days, they look back on the kids shows of their youth and think it was as sucky as that. And we've come a long way since then in a lot of ways.
I mean, we have come quite a bit, but I don't know, I'm starting to get really annoyed with kid shows now, because it's just sort of like... Actually, I was quite glad though, because my half-brother is about 5, came in today, and he loves Ben 10.
Okay.
He loves it.
Yeah.
And he was just sort of looking through some of the stuff, and he found an old thing for the first 3 episodes of Yu-Gi-Oh!
Ah.
And we started watching that. And he suddenly and he just went through like my massive DVD pile in my room. And then he just picked out all of the animes. And while some of them were too old for it, I was like, when you're older, brother, when I come back from uni, these are yours.
Yeah.
You can watch them. Just don't watch Grave of the Fireflies, it will ruin you. But apart from that...
Well, Miniman does kind of have like a point there. A lot of the kids quote unquote cartoons nowadays, it's just not like when I look back to the 90s cartoons, a lot of them are a lot more innocent but still teach.
Yeah.
Nowadays it's a lot of the things like on Nickelodeon. Well, Nickelodeon doesn't show cartoons anymore. Cartoon Network, like it has that one thing with the purple thing that goes blah blah blah. It's like Chowder or something.
Oh,
that's
Chowder.
Adventure Time and stuff.
Is that
I like it. Adventure Time and regular show, admittedly, are hilarious.
They're kind of funny, but they're also they're categorized towards kids, yet they seem like something for young teens.
Yeah, I mean, if you watch regular show, the amount of times they nearly swear, like they have to hide so much swearing, because it is actually like 14 to just disguise it as a kids show. But I mean, like, yeah, it is a good point though, because because stuff like Ben 10 and all that really annoys me, because there's actually no message behind it anymore. Like, you watch an episode of Pokemon and it's like, oh, we should work together. Oh, we should share our power.
It's actually, it is one of the big issues with modern cartoons. They really have lost that desire to teach children, especially in America. you know, a lot of those shows on Cartoon Network really don't have a message. And the modern shows. And it's been a trend for a while. I mean, I can't go back and say that shows like, I don't know, I mean, I really enjoy Dexter's Lab, and even Powerpuff Girls. And they're fun shows, but there's not that much in the way of messages there. They're meant to be kind of candy.
When I think of, even I've actually watched, because they have that weird thing where you can, I think it's like something Cartoon Network did, Boomerang or something. A lot of the old shows play on that network, but I go watch them, and they're not nearly as, like, I'm using bad not in the context of, you know, in a bad way, but just how they do things. Like, it's not as vulgar, but not exactly the word vulgar, something less meaningful than that.
Yeah, I say.
like having my baby sister watch Adventure Time versus watching Dexter's Lab or Courage the Cowardly Dog.
Yeah.
There is so much of a, like, they wonder why kids nowadays are more violent, quote unquote, or meaner, or all that kind of stuff, or they don't have the same innocence that all the kids way back when did.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm incredibly glad I didn't have anything like Freeview or Sky when I was a kid, actually. I only had channels 1, 2, 3, and 4, and they never showed cartoons at all. I'm not saying don't watch American cartoons, because I'm sure some of them are great. But honestly, I'm sort of kind of glad I grew up without them, just because, I don't know, sometimes I think through things logically. But I know, because sort of, you know, I was growing up around the time when moral anime was dying, you know. I mean, I still got the occasional glimpse of a good Yu-Gi-Oh! Pokemon episode now and then, and it was awesome. But, like, then you just watch something like SpongeBob SquarePants, where it's just complete mindlessness.
Yeah, that's the thing. You know, and again, you know, we're not saying mindlessness is bad, we're just saying that when that's kind of almost all there is, you know, and compare that to, Matt and I were talking about this earlier today, Batman the Animated Series. I mean, that show is just full of moral quandaries. And we just don't get shows like that a lot. I mean, there was one episode that dealt directly with a mob boss and his brother, and who has, I believe, joined the priesthood. And this sort of question of whether the mob boss should leave, and the priest is kind of trying to have him not do that. And there's this whole incident in their past that they're trying to deal with, where one tried to save the other, and so forth. And it's this really intense story, and Batman's barely in it, and it's brilliant. And it's just, you know, you've got that level of storytelling, and that's not going to happen all the time, but there was some really good stuff in the past, and it seems like we've lost a lot of that. You know, we've gotten some of it back with shows like Avatar, The Last Airbender. But, you know, it's just, there's not a lot of that interesting storytelling, I feel. I don't know, maybe I'm just becoming Grumpy G-Son.
Well, no, I mean, it's true, and if you ever, ironically, watch an episode of, I will quote Thundercats. I know it's not technically anime, but it's still America cartoon, I guess. But I mean, it's quite interesting because one of my favourite Charlie Brooker quotes actually is play every Mass Effect, read every piece of Mass Effect media, and then play stuff like Disney's Epic Mickey, and then read one line of dialogue from one line of dialogue from Thundercats. You will find more moral dilemmas in one line of dialogue from Thundercats than you will from... Because it's like everything is like a moral thing. It's like, make sure you be with your friends. Even if it doesn't make sense, make sure you work with your friends. Yes, sir. Make sure I eat my greens. Yes, friendship.
I think that one of the problems that I have, like, trying to realize this is the fact that I went from the kid shows of the 90s, living in Italy and having two channels, news and news. And then coming back to America, and all the cartoons are completely different.
Yeah.
That I didn't even experience the transition. It was just this.
You should try. Wow. You should try Britain in the morning. We have 4 main channels: news, and pop.
Yes.
I'm gonna tell you now. Just looking at the differences between different news channels is the greatest thing ever.
This is true.
It's like Britain. A bomb went off in Baghdad today. America. Welcome to Fox News. Bomb went from Baghdad. Who did it? CSI transition. You can't handle the truth. This is Fox News.
Yeah, they all definitely take their own approaches to things. It's actually funny watching. Well, I'm not going to get into that right now. Yeah. So anyway, so actually, we are out of time. So I want to thank, as usual, this has gone way faster than I thought it would. It's always so interesting. So thanks.
It's no problem.
Yeah. Thanks, Mike, for joining us.
You're welcome.
Cool. Thanks, Miniman, as well.
Hello and bye.
Hello and bye.
Hello.
So thanks, everyone, and we will see you in 2 weeks for the next Ask an Otaku.
Yeah.